Hey Brazil, this is Joe Elliott from Def Leppard, and you are listening to 89 FM, a Radio Rock.
Fala galera, beleza? Eu sou o Wendell Correia e hoje eu vou conversar com Joe Elliott, o vocalista do Def Leppard, que se apresenta aqui no Brasil, em São Paulo, no dia 7 de março no Allianz Parque, junto com Mötley Crüe. Então nessa turnê aí sensacional, você garante seu ingresso no eventim.com.br, trocar ideias sobre essa apresentação. Def Leppard lançou álbum novo também em 2022, chamado Diamond Star Halo, trocar ideia com ele sobre isso e um pouco mais, tudo com exclusividade para 89, a Rádio Rock. How are you, Joe? Nice meeting you.
You too. I'm grand, actually. I just got back from the United Arab Emirates. We were in Dubai or Abu Dhabi for the final race of the Formula One. We were playing a festival down there that takes place after the race. And there was, we were the fourth of four bands over the weekend. You know, there was Usher was on, Swedish House Mafia, Kendrick Lamar, and then us. There's 50,000 people in it. It was insane. And that was our last gig of the year. So it was a hell of a flight. I mean, I flew from California, so it was a 15-hour flight with like 2-hour road trips either side. It was like brain-fryingly tiring, but the gig was great. The crowd were fantastic. So I'm good. I'm now getting ready for Thanksgiving. Got my family and stuff all gathering around and just listening to some music, watching loads of soccer, and getting ready for the next tour, which is South America in February.
And talking about Brazil, you've been here. What do you remember from Brazil? Any fun story?
Well, you know, it's a strange thing, Brazil, for us, because we were due to play the first ever Rock in Rio, I think, back in 1985. But it was just after Rick's accident, so we couldn't do it. So we lost a lot of ground in South America over the years. You know, we were selling loads of records and lots of tickets in the States and Europe, but we didn't really get a foothold in anywhere in South America, specifically Brazil, for a long, long time. But obviously my fondest memory is Rock in Rio when we were on the bill with Aerosmith, because we finally got to play in front of a lot of people that all my friends in bands had said, you got to, you know, you guys really need to get down to Brazil more often. But as I kept saying, you can't just get on a plane and turn up. You have to be invited, you know, and the timing has to be right. And it just happened to be when we did Rock in Rio with Aerosmith and Alice Cooper, and it was the perfect time, you know. And now, you know, we've finally got through COVID. We've got the new album out. We've got the American tour done. It's time to take it to the rest of the world. And we're very pleased to be able to come back to Brazil. You know, we also played with The Who in Brazil as well on that same tour, which was a fantastic experience for us because we grew up with The Who. You know, I mean, as kids, I was buying Who records when I was 10 years old. So to actually play a gig with them was just fantastic. And you know, I've known Roger Daltrey for a long time, but it was just finally nice to be able to hang a little bit with them a bit more and just watch them from the side of the stage and learn, because even as long as we've been around, you can still watch a band like The Who and see how they handle their history, which is where we're kind of moving into that era, you know, because we're in our 45th year as a band now. And I helped The Who celebrate 50 years about 7 years ago at a little gig in London when I got up and sang Love Rain on Me with a bunch of different singers played with the Who band. There's Eddie Vedder and there was Liam Gallagher and all sorts of people up there. So it was a nice tie-in to be able to do Brazil with the Who and with Aerosmith. I mean, two bands that we hugely respect in front of audiences that were actually pretty bonkers, you know, and South American audiences, specifically Brazilian audiences, from what we were always told and what we remembered, you know, they do it a little differently. They're not politely quiet, you know, and we kind of like that, because I remember too in some gigs with the Kings of Chaos in South America. I don't think we actually played in Brazil, but it was people like Gene Simmons, Glenn Hughes, Matt Duff, Slash, and Gilby Clarke, all current or ex-members of Guns N' Roses, Sebastian Bach, Ed Rollins from Collective Soul. And Duff was saying to me, because he was playing on Pour Some Sugar on Me, which was one of the songs I was singing. And I was singing backing vocals on like, Paradise City and stuff like that. He was saying it's amazing the difference between us and them. He says at a Guns N' Roses gig, they all mosh. He says, but obviously with Def Leppard songs, they sing them. And I think that, it's a good contrast to have. And it was good to see that the fans in South America and Brazil, it was the same when we did Rock in Rio. They kind of mosh about, but they also sing as well. And they're singing in a foreign language, which is incredible because I couldn't do it in Portuguese, Brazilian, whatever you want to call it. But they were singing in English, and I'm like, this is really impressive. So I've got fond memories, but they're very short and few and far between because we just haven't done enough shows down there. So hopefully there's more to come.
It's great. And only legends you are talking about. Now you are coming with Mötley Crüe. You did a tour with them, the stadium tour with Mötley Crüe and Joan Jett and Poison, but now coming only with Mötley Crüe. How has been the tour and your relations with those guys? Because you are really legends. And what do you think is the legacy of Def Leppard and Mötley Crüe for rock and roll nowadays?
Well, legacy is a word that's applied to bands that still exist. You can't really have legacy if you're not around anymore. All you have is a decent back catalogue, maybe a band like Humble Pie or UFO that not really exist anymore. Thin Lizzy and stuff like that. A legacy really applies to anybody that's either actively still going or just reformed, which is what Mötley Crüe have just done. We've just been actively going for 45 years. It's a strange thing because, you ask me that question. I don't really think about it on a daily basis until I'm asked, and then I don't have a prepared answer. So with Mötley, it's good to see them get back together and enjoying themselves. Obviously, it's going to change now because Mick Mars is retired from the road after this American tour, and they've been taking out a different guitar player. So it won't be the original lineup, which is a real shame. Our relationship with Mötley Crüe is fantastic, as it was with Poison and Joan Jett. We've toured with Joan Jett. That's the third time we've toured with Joan Jett. She opened for us in '99, and I think again in 2005, maybe. We toured with the Crew in 2011 in the UK. We toured with Poison about 3 or 4 times in America. So everybody knows each other. The truth is, on a festival show like this, you never see anyone. I think I saw Joan Jett twice. I saw Brett a couple of times and CeCe a couple of times. I never saw Bobby Doll, once. Never saw him once. We were coming as they were going, But us and Mötley, we'd see each other all the time because their dressing rooms would be right next to ours. So I was in and out of Nicky's dressing room every day, and he was in ours often. The only difference between them and us is they all have a separate room and we share a room because we vocalize a lot before we go on stage. We practice our harmonies and stuff. So we all have to be in the same room anyway. But we get on fine with each other and we get on fine with Mötley. So I'm just happy that this tour has got some legs, as we like to call it. It's got momentum. It was one of the biggest tours in the world in 2022. And we're hoping it's going to be a similar experience in 2023.
There is some kind of rituals before.
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. You'd have to ask them. Normally, Nicky would come into our dressing room 10 minutes before we go on, but they have their doors shut an hour before, probably because they're putting more makeup on than we are. I don't know. I don't know what their rituals are because they don't do a collective one, as far as I'm aware, unless they high five each other 10 seconds before they go on stage. But I was never there on the side of the stage. I would normally sneak out the back and watch from the, by the desk, or because the dressing rooms in the stadiums are often at the other end of where the stage is. They're not behind the stage always. So you can actually just nip out and just look all the way down the stadium and watch it, go up in a box and watch them. I don't really know what their ritual is, but, our ritual is just preparation for the show, making sure that all our fingers work and all our voices work.
Yeah, that was really nice, the video that you record on a bus on Canada showing
how I lived.
But here in Brazil, you're going to be on a hotel probably, right?
Yeah. Obviously, the buses is just an American thing. It was just after the COVID, they'd lifted a lot of the COVID restrictions, but I was still very wary as a singer that I needed to isolate as best I can, because if you've got COVID, it doesn't really affect your fingers much, but it really affects your voice. So I really wanted to not be pushing elevator buttons and traveling in elevators with people and that kind of thing. And I just really enjoyed the isolation of the travel and living on the bus. You know, I mean, it's not like I didn't see anybody for 11 weeks. We were in the dressing room all the time and we were fine because we'd be testing each other, testing ourselves to make sure we were clean and clear. But I've never seen so many Marvel movies in my life, you know, Netflix shows, because as soon as I'd finished my gig, I'm just back in the thing, you know, on the bed, watch movies until I've passed out, get up the next day, I'd ride my Peloton bike, have a bit of snack, and then get ready for the show. You know, it was a really great way to prepare for the gig, because I've always said this, and I'll always say this. People think touring is really exciting. It's really exciting on stage, but the other 22 hours aren't. They just never are. You're either asleep or you're traveling or you're waiting to do something. I made sure that I filled in that 22 hours the best I could to be prepared for those two, the most important 2 hours of the day. And by not doing a lot of talking all the time, made my voice better. Obviously we weren't frequenting nightclubs and all that kind of stuff. So I just entertain myself. Watching movies, the last thing you want to do is be talking through them, because you can't hear anybody say anything. So it's a great exercise in silence, if you like, from a singer's point of view. But I was never bored and I was never lonely. I was plenty of people I was talking to either on FaceTime or, you know, on the phone or whatever. But it was a different world. It was like living on an oil rig, or living at the North Pole when you go out there to do a scientific experiment for 11 weeks and then you come home. It was the same thing, but way more fun, because we got to do these amazing gigs every other night, you know, and fantastic audiences. And the band just kept getting better and better and better all the time.
And talking about the Brazilian performance that you guys are going to do in March, you guys release a new album this year. What the fans can expect for the show, the set list? What the fans can expect for performances with Def Leppard?
Well, you know, look, in this day and age, whatever I say to you, all you got to do is go online and type in setlist.com and it tells you everything that we've been doing. We're not going to change the set around too much because it's a different crowd every night. And this is the one thing that critics of that situation never really take into consideration. If we were the same 50,000 people every night, we would change the set more. But it's always different people. And you drop one song and play another one, and somebody will come on and say, oh, they didn't play Photograph, or they didn't play Foolin'. They played something else instead. And we, you know, so we can please somebody, an armchair critic. We're not going to go there. So obviously, you mentioned legacy. We're obviously going to be playing songs that people want to hear. This is what the Rolling Stones sensibly do, or McCartney, or Genesis, or anybody, U2, anybody that's been around for years, Depeche Mode, Queen, you know, it doesn't matter. You're going to play songs. They don't come to be educated in stadiums. They come to be entertained. If you're going to educate people, you play a small place and play your entire new record to the ones that really care. What we do is obviously do a bit of a mixture of everything. We have a fantastic opportunity over the next 2 years to be actively promoting our latest album. So we're obviously going to do that. When we started the tour in America, we actually were doing 4 new songs out of the 16 we played. So 25% of the set was new material. In a stadium, it's unheard of. After 10 shows, we re-looked at that and decided we might want to put one more older song in. So we cut it back to 3. But still, we were playing 3 new songs in a 90-minute set, which is, I think, is a wonderful thing for us to do. It's not overindulgent so that the crowd are going, I don't know this. Because, you know, you surround new songs with ones that they are familiar with. So an audience will forgive you 4 minutes of a new song if they don't know it, but half the people down the front do know it. So it's a kind of a fine line you have to walk to get the balance right. So that's exactly what we will do in Brazil. We will be playing songs that you know. We will be playing songs that we want you to get to know, but not too many new ones. and a nice balance of our back catalogue from second album onwards.
Thank you so much for our time in.
Thank
see you
you
soon, Brazil. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I'm looking
it.
forward to it, and hopefully we'll see you when we get there.
89, a Rádio Rock.